A Treatise of Satan's Temptations. Part 2. By Richard Gilpin. A Discourse of the Malice, Power, Cruelty and Diligence of Satan. Chapter 5. Part 3. Satan's attempts against the peace of God's children evidenced, 1. By his malice, 2. From the concernment of peace to God's children, what these concerns are, explained. 3. From the advantages which he hath against them by disquieting their minds, 1. Confusion of mind, 2. Unfitness for duty, and how, 3. Rejection of duty, 4. A stumbling block to others, 5. Preparation of the mind to entertain venomous impressions, and what they are, 6. Bodily weakness, 7. Our miseries. Satan's contentment. 1. That duties are difficult. And this is easily proved from our own experience. While we are broken or bowed down with sorrows, we make many attempts for duty, and are oft beat off with loss. Our greatest toil helps us but to very inconsiderable performances. Hence, he infers, it is foolishness to attempt that which is above our strength, better sit still than toil for nothing. 2. That they are unfruitful. And this is our own complaint, for troubled spirits have commonly great expectations from duties at first, and they run to them, as the impotent and sick people to the pool of Bethesda, with thoughts of immediate ease as soon as they shall step into them. But when they have tried, and waited a while, stretching themselves upon duty, as Elisha's servant laid the staff upon the face of the Shunammite's son, and yet there is no voice nor hearing, no answer from God, no peace, then are they presently dissatisfied, reflecting on the promises of God and the counsels of good men, with this, where is all the pleasantness you speak of? What advantage is it that we have thus run and labored, when we have got nothing? And then it is easy for the devil to add, and why do you wait on the Lord any longer? 3. His last and most dangerous argument is, that they are sinful. Unfitness for duty produceth many distractions, much deadness, wandering thoughts, great interruptions, and pitiful performances. Hence the troubled soul comes off from duty wounded, and halting, more distressed when he hath done than when he began. Upon these considerations, that all his service was sin, a mocking of God, a taking his name in vain, nay, a very blasphemous affront to a divine majesty. Upon this the devil starts the question to his heart, whether it be not better to forbear all duty, and to do nothing? Thus doth Satan improve the trouble of the mind, and often with the designed success. For a dejected spirit doth not only afford the materials of these weapons, which the devil frames against it, but is much prepared to receive them into its own bowels. The grounds of these arguments it grants, and the inferences are commonly consented to, so that ordinarily duty is neglected, either 1. Through sottishness of heart, or 2. Through frightful fears, or 3. Through desperateness. Bringing a man to the very precipice of that atheistical determination, I have cleansed my hands in vain, Psalm 73:13. 4th, Satan makes use of the troubles of God's children as a stumbling block to others. It is no small advantage to him, that he hath hereby an occasion to render the ways of God unlovely, to those that are beginning to look heavenward. He sets before them the sighs, groans, complaints, and restless outcries of the wounded in spirit, to scare them off from all seriousness in religion, and whispers this to them, will you choose a life of bitterness and sorrow? Can you eat ashes for bread, and mingle your drink with tears? Will you exchange the comforts and contents of life, for a melancholy heart and a dejected countenance? How like you to go mourning all the day, and at night to be scared with dreams and terrified with visions? Will you choose a life that is worse than death, and a condition which will make you a terror to yourselves, and a burden to others? Can you be in love with a heart loaden with grief, and perpetual fears almost to distraction, while you see others in the meantime enjoy themselves in a contented peace? Thus he follows young beginners with his suggestions, making them believe that they cannot be serious in religion, but at last they will be brought to this, and that it is a very dangerous thing to be religious overmuch, and the highway to despair. So that if they must have a religion, he readily directs them to use no more of it, than may consist with the pleasures of sin in the world, and to make an easy business of it, not to let sin lie over near their heart, lest it disquiet them. Nor overmuch to concern themselves with study, reading, prayer, or hearing of threatening, awakening sermons, lest it make them mad. Nor to affect the sublimities of communion with God, exercises of faith and divine love, lest it discompose them and dash their worldly jollities out of countenance. A counsel that is readily enough embraced by those that are almost persuaded to be Christians. And the more to confirm them in it, he sticks not sometime to asperse the poor troubled soul, with dissimulation, where the accusation is proper, for the devil cares not how inconsistent he be with himself, so that he may but gain his end, affirming all his seriousness, to be nothing but whining hypocrisy. So that whether they judge these troubles to be real or feigned, his conclusion is the same, and he persuades men thereby to hold off from all religious strictness, holy diligence, and careful watchfulness. Fifth, a further use which the devil makes of these troubles of spirit is, to prepare the hearts of men thereby to give entertainment to his venomous impressions. Distress of heart usually opens the door to Satan, and lays a man naked, without armor or defense, as a fair mark for all his poisoned arrows. And it is 100 to 1 but some of them do hit. I shall choose out some of the most remarkable, and they are these. 1. After long acquaintance with grief, he labors to fix them in it. In some cases custom doth alleviate higher griefs, and men take an odd kind of delight in them, est quedam etiam dolendi voluptas. It is some pleasure to complain, and men settle themselves in such a course, their finger is ever upon their sore, and they go about telling their sorrows to all they converse with, though to some this is a necessity, for real sorrows, if they be not too great for vent, will constrain them to speak, yet in some that have been formerly acquainted with grief, it degenerates at last into a formality of complaining. And because they formerly had cause so to do, they think they must always do so. But besides this, Satan doth endeavor to chain man to their mourning upon two higher accounts. 1. By a delusive contentment in sorrow, as if our tears paid some part of our debt to God, and made amends for the injuries done to him. 2. By an obstinate sullenness and desperate resolvedness, they harden themselves in sorrow, and say, as Job chapter 7:11, I will not refrain my mouth, I will speak in the anguish of my spirit, I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I a sea, or a whale, that thou settest a watch over me? 2. Another impression that men's hearts are apt to take, is, unthankfulness, for the favors formerly bestowed upon them. Their present troubles blot out the memory of old kindnesses. They conclude they have nothing at all, because they have not peace. Though God heretofore hath sent down from on high, and taken them out of the great waters, or out of the mire and clay where they were ready to sink. Though he hath sent them many tokens of love, conferred on them many blessings. Yet all these are no more to them, so long as their sorrows continue, than Haman's wealth and honor was to him, so long as Mordecai the Jew sat at the king's gate. Thus the devil oft prevails with God's children, to deal with God as some unthankful persons deal with their benefactors. 2. If they be not humored in every request, deny the reality of their love, and despise with great ingratitude all that was done for them before. 3. By inward griefs, the heart of the afflicted are prepared to entertain the worst interpretation that the devil can put upon the providences of God. The various instances of Scripture, and the gracious promises made to those that walk in darkness and see no light, do abundantly forewarn men from making bad conclusions of God's dealings, and do tell us that God in design, for our trial and for our profit, doth often hide his face for a moment, when yet his purpose is to bind us up with everlasting compassions. Thanks.